G'day and welcome. My name is DK from DK Plays TV. I hope that you're having a fantastic day no matter where you are in the world. Today we're going to have a go at coding or Datapack creation, and we're going to make the game Battleships, or You Sank My Battleship. Set time to noon, game rule do daylight cycle false, and game mode creative. We can change those later on if we want to have it played within the realm of survival, or if we want the time to a different time, or we want to be in survival or in any other mode of the game, so we can come in and change those later on. These are just so that I can do my testing and not have to worry about day-night cycle. Fill an area. Into the application. There we go. Fill 10, 100, minus 10. What do we want to, and where else do we want to fill? We want to fill minus 10, 100, 10, and let's just say white concrete. Straight after that, we will TP all players 101, sorry, 0, 101. Now let's jump over to Minecraft. I have two screens. Off a little bit. There's our white concrete. Now that we have this in here, kind of want our playfield to be a little bit bigger than this. Now what we've got to work out is, are we going to have a 10 by 10 or are we going to have it bigger? I think I'd like to have it a little bit bigger. Let's say fill. Okay, so this is what we've got. So battleships, blue area, and then you will fire the red area. Now I put a block here, and it will fire a block at this position. I think that's a good start. Over here, so this is what we've got. We're filling the floor in with white concrete on this line. One of our red squares is in this line. Blue squares is in this line. And then the opposite side of the sea lantern wall, right here, got another line of, another box of blue, another box of red. And then I had to take a line out. Okay, so we have our next part in place. So at the moment we have nothing on this side at all, and it's just one line and one little block of code, 4 lines long. So if I place a yellow concrete here and turn around, an anvil falls in exactly the same places in the blue as I placed it in red. And now if let's say our ship is in that position. Well, if I press that again, now it tells us that we've had a hit. A little bit of code here. So execute if block 40, 101, 38 is yellow concrete. Then run set block 18, 120, 38 anvil. So 40, if you take 18 from 40, you're left with 22, which is the difference between start of the blue block and the start of the red block of concrete. The 120 puts it way up in the air, and the 38 is in the same line, and it just drops an anvil. And immediately after we place the concrete and that runs, it deletes the block. So the yellow concrete at 40, 101 and 38, it changes it to air, so it doesn't keep dropping anvils. And then execute if block 18, 102, 38 is an anvil, say hit. And then immediately set that 18, 102, 38 to air. It's going to keep our anvils in place as we drop them. And if their ship happens to be here, like so, let's put our ship there. Right. And then we come along and we drop an anvil on that ship. Bang. It automatically says it's a hit, and then it deletes it deletes the anvil from the top so it doesn't stay there. Because if it does, it'll just keep saying hit, 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 hit the whole time. So now I've just got to copy that little 4 lines of code for every single block on here. And then every single block on that red pile over there. So I've made a little bit more progress. And when I place a block here, anvil drops, turns to cyan concrete. But I have been thinking about it for a while, overnight, a little bit this morning, and come up with a better solution. This 4 line. Put it in the tick. And I'll explain what all this does in a minute. See what now, no matter where I place it, I place a yellow block there and stand on it. Anvil falls, and turns to cyan, and then it changes to black. Because if I was to have a ship, say, and I step up on it. Here and step up on it. Now I get this turning to black concrete. That one. Well, of course it did because it's on top of the ship. But if I here, stepped on it, anvil drops, and we get blue. So now we have a way to determine whether we had a hit, the black ones, or a miss, the blue, the cyan ones. And it's a hell of a lot less code. So if I was to code the first way for this whole green square, it would take 289 of the 4 lines of code that we had just to place it and have an anvil drop. Now we have 4 lines of code, and no matter where we place our block, stand on it, we get an anvil drop and color change. And you notice that I changed this to green from red, and the reason being was that if I had it all on red, then this one would be affected at the same time as this one. Okay, so I've done a little bit more work, so let me walk you through what I've done. In our load up section, we fill in our floor, and then we call scoreboards, which we didn't have before, and the scoreboards just sets up a clock. That's all it does. It just sets up a clock, which goes into the tick, and the tick then adds 1 to the clock on every tick, and when the clock reaches 2400, it resets it back to 0 again, and then counts up again. And when the clock matches 10 ticks, it runs battleships players 1 over here, and it just says player 1, it's your turn. We then go back to the tick, and it runs this sets these 4 lines of code, which we've already seen, where you place a block, drops an anvil. If it's a hit, it turns the floor black, and if it's a miss, it turns it cyan. And then once it gets to 1210 ticks, it then runs player 2, and player 2 just says player 2, it's your turn. And then it just constantly repeats and constantly repeats. So I don't know whether I actually explained what each of these lines does. So let me just put on word wrap so we can see the whole line, right? So the first line obviously pulls up player 1. Second line here, execute if ticks clocks matches between 0 and 1200. then run if block below my feet, one below my feet, is yellow concrete. Set block minus 22, 105 to an anvil. So that just, the 22 blocks in the minus direction on the X is where my other pad is, where I'm going to be dropping the anvils, which is other players, where they're going to have their ships. Then if the clock is still between that time, it's going to say if it's now going to set everything to air. So it's going to get rid of that yellow concrete that I've put under my block, under my feet. And the reason for that is, if I leave the yellow concrete block there, it's going to continually drop anvils. We only want it to drop one at a time. So as soon as I place the yellow concrete, it gets immediately taken away by the next line, this line here. And then the next line is if block minus 22, 101. So we know the floor is at 100. So if the block where the anvil dropped, if the anvil drops onto level 101, then it sets the block underneath my feet to cyan concrete. And that's a hit. And then the next line says if the clock is still at that point, if at minus 22, 102, so 102 means that if it's 2 blocks above the floor, then we set the concrete to black. Now I think I just said that the cyan concrete was a hit. No, it's a miss. The black concrete is a hit. Because 2 blocks above, your ship would be, the first block would be at 101, and your anvil would fall and it would land at 102, and that would be a hit because it's landed on the ship. If it lands in the water, which would be level 101, then it's a miss. So cyan concrete is a miss, black concrete is a hit. And then it's exactly the same for player 2, just it's reversed. So this here has a minus 22, on this one it has a plus 22. So it's going in the opposite direction. So that both my pads, my ocean pad and my firing pad, are on the same side of the wall, the sea lantern wall, and player 2's are on the same side as each other. So we've still got a little bit of playing around to make it look a little bit pretty. So next thing to do is to set up an introduction. So when the data pack gets loaded up, the instructions, how many ships you place, and what size they are, and the orientation which they can go. We've got to set that up. So that's just instructional stuff. And then we have to set up a timer that allows people to place down their ships, and then it'll come in and run this. So this will move around a little bit in the position where it is now. It may change, the clock may change and go up to say 6,000, which would be 5 minutes, and then these would roll around. So this one would go up to so the clock would only go back down 2 minutes instead of going back down to 0. So the instructions, and then we've got to set up a win-lose scenario. So that's the next things we've got to do. But this is all I have time for today. Join me again in the next episode when we get to do all those things, finish the data pack completely, and then I'll tell you where you can get it. My name is DK from DK Plays TV. I hope that you've had a fantastic day no matter where you are in the world. If you wouldn't mind hitting like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Trying to get myself up to 2,000 subscribers. I know I usually play Minecraft, and I know this is a part of Minecraft, but I've recently discovered these data packs, and I'm absolutely loving trying to build them and create new things for the game. So I will get back to actually playing Minecraft itself in a little while, but for the moment I want to learn all of this command block stuff so I can make things a lot better, and I can actually make some interesting either games or gameplay or things to have in the world that we play in. So anyway, have a good one. Catch you next time. Bye now.